Hey there, and welcome back to Plays Well with Butter. I'm Jess Larson, and today we're gonna make the Thanksgiving stuffing that converted me, a lifelong stuffing hater, into someone who contemplates eating the entire pan every time I make it. My Aunt Kari's sourdough stuffing. This stuffing is packed with flavor-forward ingredients. We have sourdough bread cubes, pork sausage, and loads of fresh herbs, but there's one secret ingredient that takes everything to the next level: cheese. It's really the best Thanksgiving stuffing I've ever had in my life, and I think you're gonna love it too. So when it comes to Thanksgiving dinner, I've honestly never really been much of a stuffing person. I know people are fanatical about stuffing, but my eyes are always glued on the bowl of buttery, fluffy mashed potatoes. But then my cousin Carly told me that her mom, Kari, makes the best stuffing she's ever had, and I knew I had to give it a try because my Aunt Kari is an amazing cook and baker. And let me tell you, this stuffing did not disappoint. It has converted me into someone who really loves stuffing, and everyone who's tried this recipe absolutely adores it. So this is my Aunt Kari's recipe, but I've added a couple of my own twists. Aunt Kari uses store-bought bread cubes, but to add extra flavor, I start with homemade sourdough bread cubes. I'm just picking some herbs, I'm gonna chop some garlic, and we're gonna toss sourdough bread cubes in all of this flavorful goodness and give it a quick toast in the oven. So as far as herbs go, I like to use a really classic combination of fresh rosemary, fresh sage, and fresh thyme. These are like classic poultry herbs that you'll typically use throughout your Thanksgiving menu, so it kind of ties all the flavors together. I've got all of my herbs picked, and I'm gonna give them a really good fine chop. Fresh is always best. And this time of year, they actually sell all of these fresh herbs packaged in one little bundle. So I've got my herbs finely chopped, and the other thing to prep for our bread cubes is some finely chopped garlic as well, because garlic goes with everything. And if there's one thing that you might know about me, if you've been on our channel before, is that I hate chopping fresh garlic. It's like my least favorite kitchen task. So I actually use a microplane to finely grate it. Kind of makes a garlic paste that sort of melts into whatever you add it to without having to worry about biting into a big chunk of garlic. So I've got my finely chopped fresh herbs, my garlic, and some melted butter, garlic, herbs. I think we're off to a pretty great start. The only other thing we're gonna do to prep is prep our bread itself. I have a really nice loaf of sourdough from a local bakery here in Minneapolis. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna tear this into bite-sized pieces, and I like tearing it instead of chopping it into bite-sized pieces or slicing it into bite-sized pieces because it creates these little rough, craggly edges, and those capture everything we're gonna add to it: the herbs, the garlic, the sausage. Makes every bite even more flavorful. We've got all of our bread torn into bite-sized pieces, and now is the fun part. We get to season it with the butter, all of the garlic that we prepared, and we're gonna use half of the herbs because we're gonna use the other half in the sausage filling. I'm gonna add in a little bit of salt. It smells so good already. And just gonna give this a really good toss. Mix up all of those ingredients and make sure each piece of bread has a little bit of seasoning on it. This is looking really good. I'm going to transfer it to a couple of parchment-lined baking sheets. And you just want to arrange it so everything has plenty of room to toast evenly. So it's really helpful to use 2 baking sheets here. So once the bread is all seasoned up, we're gonna pop it in a 425-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, just until everything starts to get golden brown and toasty. We're not after too much color here, we just wanna dry it out a little bit. Well, the bread toasts, we're just gonna brown up our sausage for the stuffing, and we're working with really classic flavors here. I've got some onion and celery sauteing in butter. I'm gonna give it a good seasoning of salt. Once the celery and onion begin to start softening up a little bit, we're gonna add in some more fresh herbs. Same mix as before, some sage, thyme, and rosemary, and then some chopped garlic too. We'll stir that right in. We're just gonna give the herbs and the garlic a chance to kind of bloom into the heat. We'll get super fragrant and then we can add our sausage. Things are smelling really good, so I'm just gonna push all of those aromatics to the side to make some room for our sausage in the skillet. And as far as the sausage goes, a nice country style pork sausage is awesome. If you can't find country style sausage, like a breakfast sausage works great too. You just want those like herbaceous, sagey flavors to complement the other flavors we've built. We'll let this brown up and then I'll begin to crumble it with my spoon as it cooks. We've got our toasted bread and we've got our sausage filling all ready to go, and the last thing to do is bring it all together. So I'm gonna crack some eggs and lightly whisk them. And you're gonna wanna grab the biggest bowl in your kitchen because we have a lot of goodness going on. I already have half the bread added to it. I'm gonna add the rest. Add the sausage. Get all of that in there because it is all big flavor. Then we're gonna add in some thinly sliced cremini mushrooms. These are also known as baby bella mushrooms. I like to buy them whole so I can really thinly slice them. If you don't like mushrooms, I doubt you'll even know they're there. And then our secret ingredient, some grated white cheddar. And you might be a little weirded out by adding cheese to stuffing, but I promise it is key. It doesn't make the stuffing especially cheesy, but it gives the stuffing an incredible custardy texture that kind of melts in your mouth. So I've added my eggs too, and I like to just use my clean hands to give everything a good toss. Once everything is all mixed together, you're gonna wanna splash in a little bit of chicken stock. And this is sort of where you get to use your judgment with this recipe. I like to go about a cup at a time to just make sure we're not adding in too much moisture, but you want those bread cubes to be nicely saturated. So right now, because we toasted them, they're still pretty crunchy. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna absorb that chicken stock and bake into a really nice stuffing. So I'll keep adding until they start to give a little bit more. And that's feeling pretty good. The bread isn't especially soggy when I press down on it, but it's not especially hard either. We can transfer our mixture right into a prepared baking dish, just lightly greased. And I like to press down so everything bakes up really nicely together. As you can see, this recipe yields a lot of stuffing. It is designed to feed a Thanksgiving crowd, but if you wanted to make the recipe for something smaller like a Sunday supper, you definitely can, and we have some easy conversions for you included in the blog post. We've sort of crafted the ideal Thanksgiving plate here. We have some Thanksgiving chicken, we have a little salad that I love, and we have plenty of Aunt Kari's stuffing. All you have to do at that point is top it with some gravy and dig in. I'm gonna make a bite with each component. That is so good. The outside is so crispy, but the inside is seriously moist and tender. It has so much flavor from all of those herbs and that sourdough, and that cheese just kind of makes it melt in your mouth. Delicious. It is really good, it is really rich, and that's exactly what you want out of a Thanksgiving stuffing. So go ahead, grab the full recipe on Plays Well with Butter and make it this year for Thanksgiving. I guarantee you everyone's gonna be asking you for the recipe. But before you go, be sure to like and subscribe for more recipes that pack a big punch of flavor from Plays Well with Butter. I'll see you next time.